Third Phase of Moon, Blake Cousins, do major breakthroughs come through dreams submitted by alien extraterrestrials. We have Cole Franklin, a nanoscientist who graduated from UC Irvine and is working on new technology in regards to electric propulsion. Now, this guy is an artist as well. He has fine art, and he's going to be sharing with us his basically renditions of things that he sees in his dreams. We're going to get into a discussion of what are these dreams all about. Are they being sent to him via extraterrestrials? He's working on a breakthrough right now. I mean, a big breakthrough. So listen to this. It's going to be an incredible ride. Cole Franklin, a scientist, shares his testimony right here at Third Phase of Moon. All right, you're coming in loud and clear. Well, welcome to the show, Cole. So you reached out to us after you saw a post we did on Third Phase of Moon in regards to alien abduction. And I just let everybody know that you had an experience when you started out when you were young, at 7 years old. Can we, I want to get into some of that, but I also want to get into some of this electromagnetic propulsion systems that you're working on as of recent. That's quite interesting. But let's start out with your first experience.
Sure. When I was a little kid, my parents had moved out to the desert, and in an area called Desert Hot Springs, which is pretty close to like 29 Palms, where there's now kind of all kinds of interesting activity that people go see. But at the time, it wasn't known to me, at least, if it was going on. And I was just hanging out in my backyard. I had a BB gun, and I was cruising around looking for lizards. And the next thing you know, I just thought it was an airplane, but all I could see was the hull. So it was like, okay, there's a flying hull. Where's the wings, So I sat there and looked at it for a while, and it was just very slowly moving. There's like a mountain ridge between Desert Hot Springs, which is a lower plane, then 29 Palms is up above. And so it was just kind of flying right at the top of the hill. So you couldn't really see it like if you were up in 29 Palms. And anyway, it kept coming slowly and slowly towards me. And again, it was this kind of cigar shape, sort of looked like an airplane hull. And it was moving so slowly, and even as it sort of started coming overhead, I couldn't see any wings, so I was just very perplexed. And ran inside and grabbed my dad's binoculars to see if, somehow I missed something or something. And ran back outside. Of course, my mom saw that I had done that, and she, was concerned that I was going to break my dad's binoculars. So she came out with me and, showed her what was going on. And then this cigar-shaped thing flew over kind of like by Big Bear, and then just kind of hovered there for a while and then slowly went down. And then after a few minutes of kind of going down, then all of a sudden either that thing or a smaller object came out and zipped back and forth through the sky and then zipped away. And that was my first, being 7 years old, I was kind of like, whoa, that's weird. How could that be? And my parents had no idea. So it wasn't, and nobody had ever really heard of too many people seeing UFOs, or at least I hadn't at that age. But it sort of put something in my brain that was like, okay, maybe there's something I need to pursue at some point, or maybe at some point somebody will tell us why that happened or something like that. Anyway, that year I dressed up as a spaceman, came up with this outfit, and my sister painted like a star on my face and on my forehead, and then some other stuff. I sent you a picture. And a couple of years ago, I was, or last year, I think it was, I was at my mom's house, and I saw that she had my picture there when I was a kid in this collage she made on the table, and so I snapped a picture of it because I thought it was kind of interesting. That sort of looks, like maybe like David Bowie or Adam Ant, but well, not necessarily waiting for Bowie, but around the same time. But so that's what happened then, and that kind of led me to, I think, push me later on in life that I probably would have just been like some guitar playing artist, guy. I had mentioned to you before that I used to break dance too when I was in high school. And so I was really kind of into entertaining and, making clothing and doing all this stuff. But when it came down to finally picking like what I was going to do with my career, I went ahead and decided to go into physics, which was pretty weird because my parents were hippies. They didn't like me doing homework. They felt that was kind of like weird, that why do they push, these people so hard? And so it was a struggle for me to actually do that, but I did that, and I ended up working in plasma physics area, which I was able to work on a senior program, getting my physicist degree, my bachelor's in high energy pulse power physics, which allowed me to learn a lot of things that basically what had happened is I saw a video of somebody that created at NASA that in I forget what state, but anyway, they had created a plasma propulsion device, and I thought that was really cool. So I called him up and I said, "Hey, what do I have to do to get into that?" And he said, study high energy pulse power physics. So that's kind of what I did. Right when I came out of school, the Berlin Wall fell down, the SDI program went away, and it was kind of like there wasn't anything. So it's been years now since that's happened, and I basically kind of gave up on that idea that I don't know that maybe, at least in our, the regular people don't have access to this kind of information and this kind of technology. So I started doing a lot of meditation, and that's kind of led to me having some experience with aliens, and kind of very similar to what was in some of Troy's story that you posted.
Absolutely. And Troy shared some images of his experience to us at Third Phase Moon, and I was looking over your fine art collection, and a lot of it is a little similar to Troy's artwork, but tell us about some of this artwork. I see some of these relate to Atlantis and other worlds. Is this inspired by possibly your alien encounter?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, a couple of things happened is that when I had my encounter, I guess when I was 18, my aunt, who was another kind of hippie type person, was into this meditation stuff and asked, and she had brought me into that when I was 18. She thought that it would be good for me to have experience with meditation, so I went to a couple of conferences, kind of learned how to do it, but I really didn't do too much with it because it was really all just, silencing yourself and just calming down and kind of realizing who you are and stuff like that. It wasn't until later when I started kind of looking for it again and feeling sort of like I needed something after I graduated from school, and I had done some work as an engineer for a while. It's kind of like, okay, it's kind of boring. What else is there? And then I got into this thing. It's Atlantis.2. It's John Peniel's work, and he has these 22 different meditations that you can do. So when you start doing those, you start really tapping into your subconscious, and your dreams become really, really vivid. And it started kind of poking me a lot, like, hey, there's something going on here. You oughta like try and direct some of this meditation stuff that you're doing into somewhere. And those paintings, half of them have come to me just like in dreams, and then half of them have been just I'll like be meditating, and I'll be wondering about technology or where I should go in the future, and then stuff will come to me. And so like I had like a dream. I think one time in 2009 I was laid off from work, first having to find work after I had graduated from school, and I was like felt pretty lost, and then all of a sudden it was like boom, I had a dream. So it was like every time I tried to meditate, I would just get this white noise, and it was like nothing was happening, and I didn't understand what's going on. But then all of a sudden I had this snap, and I had a dream. I was flying over the desert, and this guy on a flying carpet comes flying up to me, and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, what am I doing? What are you doing here on the carpet? And he looked like one of these Arabian carpet guys. And he goes, hey, I want you to follow me follow me. Anyway, so then I followed him, and he went to this castle. It was like out in the middle of nowhere in the sand. And but there was like trees and water and all kinds of stuff. It was like an oasis there. And he took me inside his like Arabian castle, and took me to all these jewels. And he said, you'll never be poor, because you come from these riches or something like that. I was kind of like, what? Anyway, I painted that. So one of the paintings, there's a flying carpet guy, and but since then also I've had all these other dreams where it was like I made some type of levitation technology, and I just kept getting it over and over and over, but it was like different. So first time I saw the technology, I went to this bioengineering company in my dream, and I was with another guy, and we went up, and we were like investors or something, and there was this guy, he had created this levitation board, and then there were these rods that were coming down, and he was able to turn that on and somehow work with some harmonics and lift this board up in the air using these rods. And later he had figured out how to make a suit out of it and was able to fly around. And I was always like, oh, okay, well, eventually I need to try to build that or something. Another time I had this vision where I was an engineer, and I had like a suit on, not a suit, but like a uniform with a hat that is like, you're an engineer guy. Okay, so you're walking around the society, but in the society there was pyramids all over the place, and they were like all quartz pyramids, and there was these walkways, and I was like, whoa, this is weird. Like, where's this coming from? I've never seen anything like this, like on TV, or how could I imagine this? Anyway, so I'm walking down this corridor with all these pyramids, and then I walk into one of the pyramids, and I go down some steps, and I enter this room, and it's like this really strange room. One of the pictures, I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, there's one where there's a pyramid in the center of this room, and I'm kind of pushing stuff underneath the pyramid with this rod, and there's this light coming from the ceiling. And then in my vision, there was these cables going out into the walls, and it was obvious to me that this thing was somehow generating power, and it was sending it into the walls and was part of the power of the city. But my job was to move around these reflector stones or bricks that were underneath the thing. I was doing that. That was my job, and that was in my my vision. But I was completely like flabbergasted by that vision, because I don't know if that's in the future, the past, or it just seems so very distant. I tried to make, I actually worked on some solar programs, and I tried to make this device, and it was basically this, crystal pyramid. I made it so sunlight goes into the top of it, and I put all these reflectors around the pyramid so the light couldn't get out. And then I was using a solar cell underneath to collect energy. There's a lot of interesting things that I learned from it, and I was telling a friend of mine who was ex-NSA guy. I didn't really think anything of it, but he's the closest person that I had where I can communicate with weird stuff like this from. I don't know that there was anything that went on, but that evening or maybe a couple of days after that, I was hanging out with my friends, barbecuing at my house, and all these black helicopters were flying over my house. And it was funny because my friends and my neighbors, they were saying, they're over here to get you, Cole, because all this weird stuff you do. And then I was like, yeah, whatever, it's funny. And then next day I went to work, and at that house I had a laboratory basically inside where I had all these shelvings with oscilloscopes and power supplies and measurement systems that I was working with this. And when I came home from work that day, everything seemed fine at the house. I opened the door to my office, which is like the lab, and everything was just destroyed, just like all over the floor. Everything that was on the walls, and my quartz things were broken, and I was like, what is going on? My wife had been home all day, so I came out and immediately started yelling at her, what's going on? And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, didn't you hear something? Because, like, my, laboratory is completely thrashed. And she says, no, I heard a boom, but I didn't think anything of it. And, I just went about my day, and I don't go in the room. And I was like, all right, well, it's messed up. So, and that was kind of a bummer because it definitely dejected me from working on that program or that thing that I was working on this pyramid of the light coming down. So then eventually after about a year, I kind of got frustrated with myself, and I said, you know what, you just need to just at least paint it. And so that was like the first thing I painted. It was about 2 years ago. So I painted that image of this light coming down the ceiling. It kind of looks a lot like vision. And then I posted it, and it was funny. One of the first persons that liked it was this friend of mine. So I was like, hey, man, it wasn't your buddies that messed up my lab, but, So then I just started painting over and over and over all of these things because I figured the fastest way for me to get it out there and not get, if I was attacked, I don't know.
Who do you think do you think it was something that was part of your experiment that blew up in your house or apartment? Was it an apartment or a home?
It was a home, yeah, big old 2-story home.
Wow.
But yeah,
and do you think
that's possible? I've never even thought about that. Like,
wow. Oh, well, that's interesting because okay, so it could have been some kind of you're dealing with some heavy powers. It could blow up, but do you think it could have been also sabotage? So, to like you're saying, basically discourage you from building this device from your dreams, basically.
That's my feeling. My feeling is that somehow they felt they had to sabotage it. I mean, it's just weird. The black helicopters the day before, because we've seen helicopters, all of us probably, all over our houses, above our houses at some point or another in our lives. But it just kind of is weird, the coincidence that, okay, these ones you couldn't see what kind of helicopters they were. There was no color. They were black. And it's very similar to, kind of stories you would hear.
Sure, even MIB, Men in Black. Oh, can you explain to us? Everybody's going to ask this one, Cole. What is this machine that you're standing next to in your basically graduation from college outfit? It looks like you're pretty proud of this machine. What exactly is it?
Yeah, so that machine is part of it's supposed to generate tritium. Basically, my professor was working on this super collider, self-collider device that would create nuclear fusion. And so he needed to have, in order to make that thing work, he needed to have tritium generated, and then it would go in from the side into this machine. And this other machine that he had, I think it's called it might be Alpha Energies. Anyway, they have a company right now that they actually had the longest lasting nuclear fusion reaction in the world from last I looked, which was just a few months ago, using this machine, but they've been working on it for 30 years now. But anyway, me and another professor from Russia, we had worked to build this thing. It's called the Z-Bench. And what it does is it creates a super magnetic field that collapses on itself. And you pump in heavy hydrogen. And then when it collapses, it creates a small fusion reaction that creates the tritium that he needed for his experiment. So that's what that thing was. So me and my this Russian guy, we built that thing from the ground up.
What this is did you patent this? Is there an application besides possibly opening up another dimension to other worlds? It's being said that the Hadron Collider is they're looking to do this, and it could happen, but it'd be opened up for a short amount of time. Do you see any danger in some of these machines being in the wrong hands?
The thing about fusion is it's really hard to do. I don't know about the, opening up a time portal or whatever they're trying to say that the Hadron Collider does. I could do. I think just for I'm sort of a lay person at that idea, because time dilation or opening up wormholes isn't really my thing. Basically, all we were trying to do is have enough high density hot particles in a small space to get them close enough so that they would fuse together. Fission, which is just breaking particles apart and getting excess energy out of that, is really easy to do. It can be very dangerous. Fusion, where you're putting particles together, it's a little bit less energy comes out. A lot less energy comes out than for fission. So it's harder to do. That's why everybody's had problems getting it done. As far as the magnetic fields ripping open time-space, I'm sure it's possible, but it wasn't what we did, and I didn't see any evidence of it. Otherwise, I would have, stayed with that program probably. I would have saw that. Everything else
Absolutely.
is just like accelerating electrons or accelerating particles, and trying using them to cure cancer and stuff like that. People do that. There's a lot of hospitals that have that. And I don't think we've ever heard of any kind of problems. But that, of course, that Hadron Collider, it's huge compared to anything that I worked on. So.
Yes. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So you live in China now. Do you still work as an artist now, or are you still working in technology? Because it sounds like you're maybe getting back into it. You're discouraged in life, kind of gave it up, and now are you back into it? What do you do in China?
Yeah, it's I can't really talk about that too much. But I'm just visiting here. And when you said you want to do the interview, it's going to be a few weeks before I get back. So that's all that's going on that side. But yeah, I'm a scientist in my career. That's what I do. But I work on like nanotechnology, nanoscience. So I don't really work on what I was doing before, which is these high energy pulse power physics type of stuff. At least not for any company, but privately. I am doing this in my garage, I'm trying to get something going back from what I used to do and sort of the direction that I really wanted to go. So I'm just doing part-time work on that, and I've been able to discover something that it appears that I can take. Don't really want to say, but basically it seems like I can take water and turn it into hydrogen directly, and it forms this light. And when you look at that, when I saw the light in Troy's image that you had on one of these pictures, it was kind of like there was a person laying there and there was a light coming through the window, but the light had a really odd color to it. So the picture that I sent you where I have this propulsion thing where the light's coming out, that light, the color is odd. It's not normal. I mean, the frequencies are below blue light. So when I saw that image, I was like, "Whoa! I need to watch this video." And then after I watched it, I heard his story about the aliens and stuff like that. I was kind of, hey, there's something very similar to my experience. A lot of differences, but there's some similarities. As far as
in your mind, do you believe that this early encounter in regards to the phenomenon of alien existence or this UFO phenomenon really played a major role in these dreams? It sounds like if it wasn't all for this, now you're working in nanotechnology. Wow, that's just, what do you think, where it all derived from? Because you said that your parents didn't even want you to even educate yourself.
Yeah. It was like my parents were totally fine if I didn't do any homework. I didn't go to class when I was studying in school at university. They were mad because I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, studying, trying to get these physics problems solved. And so, I think if it wasn't for seeing that UFO, there's no way I would have put that kind of energy into, engineering or physics. It's so hard, I think, for most people. And especially for somebody who doesn't have a relative that's in science or engineering at all, to just go from hippie kid running around naked, and when you're 5 years old, to being, leading lead scientist at a major company, I think it's something has to push you there. And for sure, I think I saw that, whether it was a man-made device at the time, you listen to Stephen Greer these days, you don't know. But anyway, whatever it was that came over and that I saw, it was not normal, and it definitely kicked something in my brain that I couldn't let go. Because like when I was a senior in school, I was on TV. I had my own dance school for ladies, ballet dancers, teach them how to break dance. I designed clothes. I was a musician, so I had a band and played all over the place. I just published actually my band's album on YouTube, but not on YouTube, but on iTunes. But so all that was going on for me. So I didn't need to be a scientist. But when I graduated high school, I was like, I don't know. I don't feel. I mean, I feel like this rock and roll stuff and art and all that stuff is something I need to do. There's part of me, but at the same time, this other thing is just drawing me. Like, why did that thing fly? What the heck was going on? How can I figure this out? And when I saw that NASA, it was on CNN. There was a NASA video with the plasma stuff in like late '80s, and I called that guy up, and he said, "Yeah, go study physics. Applied physics." Then I was like, "Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Forget this other stuff." And people were bummed. Like when I stopped had all the parties and knew where the parties were and could come play or had the cool clothes or whatever, people were kind of like, "Whoa, what's going on? Like, why are you stopping? What do you mean you're not coming to the party?"
Yeah. We're kind of like that now too, and I know how you feel. Wow, this is quite incredible. Let me ask you this about this device that you shared with me. This photograph of now you're back into it again. You're feeling like it's calling you again to develop this high technology. What's it all about? Turning liquid into hydrogen, water, H2O into hydrogen. Are there any applications? What could we possibly expect from this breakthrough of yours if it's true?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just was messing around, trying to get back into it. I mean, I don't have the type of equipment that I know that I used like when I was in school. It would take a lot of money for me to get to kind of that point. So I just kind of decided, just play with it. Just do something. Just start something, and maybe something will come up. And that was about a year ago. And also, I keep having these visions where I'm in a spaceship. I built this spaceship, and I'm in a spaceship. I haven't made any paintings of it, but I've had like 7 or 8 visions where I'm in various different types of spaceships or, some type of transportation vehicle. And I'm in space. I've even had a vision where I flew into the sun with one of these things. And so I'm like, okay, you can't just like let these dreams go. You can't just, ignore this. So you need to start working on it. So I started working on it. And then I came up with this thing, and it appears to form hydrogen from water. And I think maybe what could be done by that is maybe you could make some type of a vehicle, if you could calculate how much water do you need to convert into hydrogen, and then how much of that hydrogen would lift you and a craft, let's say, up at Earth's atmosphere, and maybe you could, I don't know, maybe you could do it. I'm not really sure at this point. I'm just starting. I need, I need more power to get to the next point, I think. So right now, I've got this small thing that I can discharge, and it could be used for, say, satellite positioning. For example, there's Darpa programs where they're looking for an array of these electrical discharge units, which could move satellites if they're coming out of position instead of firing up a big rocket. So that was the original intent of working on something small, was to see if I could come up with something like that. It appears that maybe I can come up with something like that. But I never applied for the program so I just decided, well, let's just keep going and try and make something larger. And now that I have some larger aspect of this thing that I've built, but I haven't been able to get the same discharging because I think I just don't have enough power. The load's too big. And I'm kind of thinking, maybe I need help from somebody, to work on this with, but haven't really, gone too far with it. So it's more of a kind of like every weekend I work on it a little bit.
I'd imagine after we share these photographs and your testimony to the world, we're going to get people, and there's smart people out there that watch Third Phase of the Moon, and extremely smart scientists out there. But you're coming into this with a whole different aspect, which is interesting because a lot of scientists really don't have the guts to say, just even sharing their UFO stories and dealing with these dreams. Is there a hidden message, or is there a message that was sent to you, do you think? Through these dreams, they seem very consistent in their own way.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You go to these different websites, and sometimes when I try to follow some of these people and then ping them with some of my stuff, I get like a negative response, and then like in the comments, somebody else will respond to me and say, hey, don't talk about that because people will attack you, And then I was like, oh, shit. So that was like, 7 years ago. And so it's like, I can't let time just keep going by and these things, these ideas just sitting there in my brain without anybody else. I mean, maybe somebody else is having the same thoughts or visions. But I do sort of almost, I feel like I keep, sometimes when I have them, I'm like, was that like a frequency? Can I meditate and then get back into that and get it coming back in? Or where's this information coming from? Is it like me in a past life, or is it me in a future life, or is it maybe some alien or the government's just like beaming this information into my brain? I'm just like a little robot just doing whatever they say. I don't know. It's a huge mystery. But the fact that it's happening and the fact that it's coming to me, it's like, well, I might as well try. What's the harm? I mean, unless somebody higher up tells me to stop or the information stops coming, I don't even know that I need any more information by now, based on all the stuff that's come at me.
You can't stop. You just can't stop what you're doing, Cole, because what we're listening to right now, it's basically very inspiring, because now people around the world might find that just not only their dreams could inspire them to lead into the future, possibly even UFO sightings, but all aside, I think what you're going down the path of basically maybe changing the world for in a better way. So this is a goal that you can't stop, and it's amazing because you sounded so discouraged for years that you want to suppress this and you don't want to get this information, or you don't want to work on it, and now you're like, I got to get this out. You're inspiring yourself to get it out, and we want to help in any way we can. So we're going to get the word out as best we can. And this device of yours seems very small. It'd sure be neat to see it in person, or in the future see on how this progresses. I'd like to see more of this in action via video or what have you, and maybe basically figure out some beneficial application even more than what you just thought about, because wow, this is a unexpected call today. It's really neat.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's only lasting for like a few microseconds right now. So what I've been trying to, because then I blow out my fuse. So I'm trying to get it to the point where I can do continuous power so that I can work with this, because it just kind of it starts drawing too many amperages, and I'm afraid to go too much further with having the right power supply. So it's just kind of like, right now it's just kind of like a boom. And then if I add more and more water, I can get it so that you can't see anything. It's just so much bright white light that's coming off. And, it's kind of, in my wife, scared that she wanted me to wear sunglasses or some kind of protective eyewear. And Yeah,
And there's
right now it's just
and there's no heat coming off this light. There's no heat coming off the light whatsoever.
It doesn't seem like it. No. So there is some metal that is sputtering when this is happening, and you can tell that stuff is hot. Like you have hot ions that are there, and based on all my knowledge, I know that that's hot. But this is not. It's not. It's like a light plasma. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. So I'm pretty stunned on it myself. I don't really understand it because I've never seen it before in typical operations, of plasma processing. So it's very strange. And the only thing I can think, obviously it's creating light. So obviously some molecules are moving from one transition stage to another, giving off that photon, right? But it's not a regular photon because it has like a lower than light frequency to it. Let's just say it's sort of like black light range, and things can be done with it. Like for example, I think you could create a really light area and then sort of like maybe fiber optic it out to other areas of say like a manufacturing plant. That's a potential for this because there's so much light being generated, and this is about 100 amps or 100 watts. So this is sort of like you have a 100-watt light bulb, produces a certain amount of light. This is creating a lot more light with that same 100 watts, and so much more that I can get it so that you can't see anything with a camera when you try to take a picture of it. All you see is just white out. So I think that could be used for something cool, like, in a factory floor in the future, maybe if I were to be able to get it to go constant. And that's really the thing I want to happen now is just to try to make this continuous so that it doesn't, burn out my fuses, and maybe I can regulate the current a little bit so that it won't want to stop.
This is we got to figure out a name for this. Because you've been saying it. We're calling it it. What's the name? How about maybe illuminator? We got to come up with a name. Call it maybe coal. I don't know. Because if it puts out that kind of light and it's so bright, your camera. I'm looking at the picture and I was thinking, is this overexposed or whatever? Obviously, it's overexposed dramatically because it's that bright. That's the practicality for giving out that kind of energy is amazing. If it's a lot lower than what any kind of expense is out there, and it sounds like your stuff. And so come up with the name on that.
I also have a few other pictures. I have a few other pictures on my Twitter account. Twitter.com/Cole S. Franklin. There's some other pictures you can see of this work that I'm doing on this. But yeah, it's it's very difficult because there's so much information that sort of has come to me. I don't know whether I should continue to work on this or drop it and work on something else. There's so many different things that I want to do. I feel like it could be something. Right now, it's just a flash. So I don't want to make too big of a deal of it, but it does take water and it turns it into hydrogen, and then it creates this flash that could be used for stuff. I'd be more than happy to work with somebody on it some more if they're interested. I will be working on it myself, and I certainly will share if I can come up with a continuous way to apply this. Right now, I'm just thinking that potentially, if you could create enough of this hydrogen, obviously you could float. So if you could do that electrically or without, just using hydrogen gas, then there might be some benefits to it besides, just a regular floaty balloon thing. But I just don't know. So it's going to take time to figure out.
I want a flying car, Cole. I just want to fly without the possibility of it malfunctioning with any parachutes or any moving parts like rotary blades So figure it out, Cole. I trust you, man, because it sounds like you're onto something. And this is quite incredible for us to speak with you all the way from Hawaii to China. And if you ever come this way, look us up, and we'd be happy to host you over here and go over some of your things. Forward me that Twitter photo. I want to see this device as well, and you keep in touch, Cole. Any last words for our listeners from around the world? Any advice about dreams or encounters or anything? Following your dreams and how to contact you if they have any questions.
Listen to your dreams. Write down your dreams. Try and get more in touch with them. Go to this Atlantis.to with John Peniel's work if you want to get more exposure to your dreams and be able to access them more. Who knows what's hiding in some of people's dreams, that in the morning or they don't remember. I think that's really important for us as a society, and I think other scientists, they should definitely jump in there, try it, and see what comes up, because this is what's happened for me.
Well, it's been an inspiration to us to listen to your story, Cole, and let me tell you, this is coming from a nanoscientist, and he's building a device that could possibly change the world. I don't know how much better that gets in regards to this alien UFO phenomenon, because it all started with the phenomenon. Is he still receiving messages from the extraterrestrials, or is it even a message, or is it from within his own brain? These are all big questions, but these are things we've got to find out, and I appreciate Cole for calling us and telling his experience, and I invite you, the world, to share your experience to us right here at Third Phase Moon. We do it twice a week, every Friday and Monday. We're going to be taking your calls from around the world, and it's my pleasure to do it. Everybody, keep your eyes on the skies. Be safe. Blake Cousins, we'll see you next time.